In this hand, you are playing low stakes tournaments on a large American facing anonymous site. And Villain 16 is trying to be a reg, but, well, I mean, he's played all right so far. I don't know a ton about him. So he's been getting in there and mixing it up. So you have the King Jack offsuit. You're facing a raise from the cutoff. What would you like to do? Three bet him. Three bet. All the wannabe regs at low stakes open way too much from the cutoff. I played a big pod with a guy the other day. Queen six of hearts. He raised, called, and called like three streets with a six. Don't get exploited. If you get exploited, you're a bad poker player. No good poker player's ever been exploited, ever. They never make a bad fold, ever. Just keep calling down. So Villain 16 goes in and calls. And the board comes King, Queen, 8. It is on you. There's about 23 and a half big blinds in the middle. You guys effective have about 140 big blinds. Check or bet. You get a few seconds on all these quiz questions. Actually say how much you would bet if you're going to bet. Actually say if you're going to check. Test yourself. It's not the hours you put in. It's what you put in the hours. That is time. So we bet about 7 big blinds. He calls. Turn is the 6 of diamonds. Check or bet. That is time. We check. He fires yeehaw 24.67 big blinds into 37.4. It's on you. Full call or raise. We call. River is the 5 of diamonds. It's on you. Check a bet. That is time. We check. He fires 65 into 86. Take your time on this one. Take 5 seconds. And hit the pause button if you need more time. That's it. We call here, and he's got ace 10 offsuit. So offsuit. Let's break this down. So first of all, we 3-bet for value because I'm not convinced half these clowns can fold a Jack 9 offsuit pre-flop to a 3-bet when they're in position. Because how dare you try to make them fold pre-flop? So, and obviously all the suited kings, all the suited jacks, you're besting. And on this flop, you don't really, so you're not going to be folding that often. If you're up against a wannabe reg and low stakes, you don't want to get in the habit of check folding a lot of top pairs on rivers, because then they can just keep putting in, especially deep stacked in position. They can just keep putting money in and just keep printing money. If you're going to be folding 80, 90% of the time, they can just keep firing and firing and firing and getting you to fold all those top pairs. Now, that's theoretically what could happen. Now, in practice, a lot of people are actually afraid of firing triple barrels. Any poker coach can tell you it's very difficult to teach people how to triple barrel bluff. So if you have someone who's a little scared of that third barrel, yeah, you can make some pretty heroic folds. But this is a low stakes tournament. This guy's trying to show how sick he is. So what you're doing is you're setting him up for those bluffs. So you bet small, something he's not going to be able to fold to, and now we're off to the races. We check on this turn. This is going to be very tempting for this person to run through. Why? Because that's a flop with straight draws and flush draws. He might be doing a very simple equation in his head, which is, hey, if I had 2 pair on this board, if I had an overpair, maybe I would like to bet in hero's spot to get value from my hand and to protect myself and to protect my hand. When he checks there, maybe that's one mediocre pair that is trying to get to a cheap showdown. I'm going to put pressure on that. So we do, oh, golly gee, fish sticks. What do I do? Okay, I call on this turn. Don't do that at the table. But you are not in love. You're trying to imply you're not in love with this situation. Sometimes with the young guys, I'll really time bank on that turn because I know they're going to drive through the green light on the river if I do that. They feel like they almost got you to fold on the turn, so I got to do that on the river. So the veterans are never going to fall for that, by the way, so don't do that. I mean, that's one of those plays where 6 players at the table could know what you're doing, but if you pinpoint it, it could really work. Now, on the river, flush draw comes in. You're blocking the jack 10, which could be trying to bluff you, which is not good, but you do block flushes, which is nice. So you check and he fires. Okay. So he's trying to represent he backed into a flush. You're blocking that. Unfortunately, you block the jack 10. But at the same time, you're not that worried about the ace king. The ace king might have 4-bet pre-flop. Kings, queens might have 4-bet pre-flop, so you're not worried about the kings and queens. It's possible a set of 8s would have raised you on the flop just because it's so likely you hit a king or queen and you're not going to fold. So are we really worried about the 8s? Not really. The king queen might have raised us on the flop. Maybe not. King queen shouldn't raise all that often just because it's blocking all of the really good pairs, but some people still just raise it. So king queen, we're a little worried about, but we got a king in our hand, so we're not too worried about it. Kings and queens, we're not worried about. Aces would have 4-bet pre-flop. Ace king, really likely would have 4-bet pre-flop. Again, with kings and queens, likely would have 4-bet pre-flop. 8s would have likely raised on the flop a good percentage of the time. We're blocking the rivered flushes. So he's got an issue here. It's really hard to give him a big hand. So we go ahead and call here. And we pick up a really nice pot, 216 big blinds. I love it. That's another reason I love 3-betting from the big blind is a lot of people just aren't as practiced with it. They've had somebody flat them out of the big blind, you know, 500 times. When you 3-bet, that's not something they're used to all that often. So we can definitely take advantage of that. So if you want to learn how to triple barrel a little bit more effectively than villain 16 in this situation, check out my free training pack on how to triple barrel bluff more in the information section of this video. You'll love it. Check that out. It's free. And if you want more training just like this, go to pokerheadrush.com. That website one more time, pokerheadrush.com.